Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's mid-August, and I'm with Charles Cormier. And life is so funny because we met on LinkedIn and the attachments. So we spoke to prepare for this a week ago, and we went into topics that probably no one, very few people in America would go into. And we had that great commonality of talking about that. Ray Kurzweil, longevity. I had met Ray Kurzweil in my pursuit of longevity, and I had a chance to talk to him and compare notes. He takes his 160 supplements. Charles is laughing. I take my 60, and we compared what we were taking. I mean, it was a very special moment in my life. A lot of people don't know who he is. I guess he's got about 100 honorary PhDs. He's kind of a smart man. So anyway, but the point was we discovered this stuff when we went a little bit off topic, and so it kind of energized me. And again, reading Charles's bio here, I found out that he had done some retreats, and I had interviewed people who have done those retreats. One was 2 weeks ago, David and Megan. So why I'm excited about this is our commonality, that elemental physical commonality. I think it's great. I always like to just read the title. It's Charles Cormier. He's a cold email dude. We got to find out what that is. Wisdom podcast, Ironman, marathon, CEO, coach, longevity. We'll talk about bending the laws of physics. I've said my monologue. I've done my introductions. Charles, how about a little bio and history of yourself? Take it away.
Sure. Yeah, you've named a couple of things here. Who am I? That's the big question. And by the way, the Vipassana retreat that I went through, mine is called Hidaya Yoga. It's in Mazunte, Mexico. And that's the questions we ask ourselves during the retreat. Who am I? You know, not in the sense of searching really who we are, you know, because that will bring back to ego. And I mean, I could get like very wooey in this discussion, like very spiritual and hard-based, but who am I from the ego perspective? I'm an entrepreneur. I think I would define myself first with that: a serial entrepreneur, a serious entrepreneur, a non-serious entrepreneur. I like being flexible, open-minded, having a laugh and having fun while I build these ventures. Why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Because it gives me freedom of my time, money, energy, and I can be creative. You know, I was listening to an ebook this weekend by Adam Savage. He was on Discovery Channel, and I forgot what his show was called, but he did like crazy experiments. And he was talking about creativity, you know, and testing out your ideas. His book is about being a maker, building things with your hand or without your hands. Could be code, but in my case, my great fun is starting startups. You know, starting startups involves having customers, dealing with humans, managing employees, creating systems, testing out ideas. There's maths, there's physics, there's psychology, chemistry in the process, and it's incredibly fun. To be honest, that's what I do as a hobby, and that's what I do as a profession. So the cold email dude part, just for information,
It's my next question. What is you call yourself a cold email dude? So what is that?
Yeah, so it's my tool. It's my lab, you know, so like I want to create the largest startup ecosystem in the world. I want to create a bunch of companies, a bit like Facebook does, a bit like Google does. They have a bunch of startups under them and they create something big. They make a good impact in this world. I'm not really here to argue if these companies are good or not. In my opinion, Google's making a lot of good in this world, and I want to create something similar and different in so many ways. So how do I do that on a daily basis? Cold email is sending email to strangers, basically in the B2B realm. Okay, so to business owners, in my case, to agency owners, to fintech owners, crypto business owners, and so forth, and convincing them to take a meeting with you. In my case, it's to sell them my services. I happen to sell cold email for them. generating meetings as a service / revenues for them. But I also use it to book podcasts on my guests, to outreach and have great conversation with people. And it's kind of a superpower because it allows me to test various of my products to various audience and get data on what works and what doesn't, which allows me to know what is my next startup to start.
Okay, there's so many layers to you. So unpacking them, you do what you call as a wisdom podcast. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so Founder Wisdom Podcast, it's called, but I also have like various additions to the podcast. So VC Wisdom Podcast, Author Wisdom Podcast. I interview people that I want to be like in the future and in the present, because I am a VC, I am an author. I do these things, right? And I learn from these people. That's the main reason why I started these podcasts. So it's selfish, but I also spread this information for free for anyone that is willing to learn. So I interview these folks. I get insights from talking to them. I ask great questions. As you know, Calvin, like being an interviewer is special. You know, you get to deconstruct people, go deep in their psyche, and bring them insights also, which is a fun thing. So that's probably 10 to 15% of my time.
Okay. You also do ebooks.
Yeah.
What are some of the topics you cover with ebooks?
Yeah, ebooks, again, I want to add value to people, but ebooks is a bit different, you know. So yes, obviously I want them on Amazon, but I also want these ebooks on my website, and I'm going to ask you your email, you know, hey, give me your email, and in exchange, I'm going to give you that ebook, and you're going to be subscribed to my newsletter, so you can get to learn more of my thought process. And who knows, eventually maybe we can do business together or even become partners. So that's a channel. My favorite ebooks, I mean, I've been on a lifelong learning obsession, and you know, I've read a bunch of decent books over the year. This year I could talk about my learning strategy a bit more later on if you want, but one of my favorite type of books is the one that is digestibles, aka paragraphs instead of chapters, you know, like aka 100 words instead of 10,000 words to describe one idea, a bit like Naval Ravikant's book, Naval's Almanac. So the ebooks that I publish nowadays, they are a repertory of all of my LinkedIn posts, which happen to be quite short. So I published a book this year. It's called The CEO's 167 Unfiltered Thoughts or something like that, because we're still A/B testing the title. It should be on Amazon pretty soon, but yeah, these are a bunch of my thoughts that I shared on my LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn is mostly business, it's mostly startups, it's mostly mindset, while I have other channels that are more wild as per se, like my Twitter, where I tend to post more controversial stuff and, you know, more health stuff than LinkedIn, because people do not really care about their health on LinkedIn. They care more about money. So that book is well, in my own humble opinion, quite good. It's at least 167 ideas that you can implement in your own business. And if I gave you like only one idea that you can implement, like Jim Rohn was saying yesterday during the ebook that the audiobook that I was listening, then I'll have my job done.
Okay, you now moving along, just kind of filling in. You have an agency called Top Leads.
Yeah.
So talk about that agency.
Yeah, we do cold email. We do it mostly for for marketing agency founders. So let's say digital marketing agency founders, let's say a TikTok agency, someone that manages your TikTok for you. I'm going to send emails on their behalf so that they can get, let's say, more e-commerce owners as clients. I do cold email for them. They pay me for that. I do outreach coaching myself. So I coach people on how to do their own email outreach and generate a bunch of meetings themselves. So that is what we mostly do at Top Leads. We also do recruitment as a service, still using cold outreach. So we send emails on the behalf of these companies, not to get clients, but for this time to get employees. So cold email is just a mean of communication. In my own opinion, it's the best mean of there is to get any types of results that you want, whether it's meetings for your podcast, whether it's recruiting or sales. And yeah, that's another service that we offer. Last but not least, with the outreach front, email outreach, we also offer raising as a service. So if you're a startup and you're looking for some capital, then you'll want to send some cold emails to some venture capitalists so that they can provide you with the funds to kickstart your journey. So I also provide that service for startups. And recently we also launched closing as a service, meaning that I don't only generate meetings for your company to create potential sales meetings for you, but I can also close these transactions for you. So we do the full sales end cycle as well.
Wow. Just going off topic, I always like to ask this question. You don't have to answer it. It's a one-word question. Here it is. I'll throw it out to you. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
We talked about Einstein.
Yeah.
Einstein would be a good one. I would also possibly answer like living Elon Musk, but Elon is, Elon would be a nice conversation as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about Einstein last week. And I try to wear my hair, by the way, like he does. People have said that I remind him of Einstein because his hair was all, but that's as far as that goes. But he's been an inspiration in my life for a long time.
Yeah.
I try to connect to him spiritually, but that's another, and I think I've succeeded, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
So you're also a CEO coach.
Yeah. So like CEO coach, I mean, I coach them on cold outreach matters, mostly initially, but obviously it goes deeper. So if we stay in the sales sphere, there's also the closing aspect. And then to close a transaction, you'll need a great product priced at the right point. So nowadays, if we take some of my coaching clients, for example, yes, I coach them with email, but I also coach them on their closing rate. So let's say that they only close 25% of their transactions, I can bring them to 35%, which brings almost instant ROI to my coaching services. Also, a bunch of them, what I found out is that they have two main fears when it comes to making money in business. One is starting new product variants. So let's say that, in my case, I've done cold outreach to generate meetings, right? I started a new product, which was cold outreach, but for recruitment. I could have gone and being stuck on that idea for 10 years. Oh, I'm never going to do cold outreach for recruitment. It's too scary. I don't have enough experience with that. Well, guess what? Nobody started with experience in business. So all you need to do is the solution to go to 0 to 1 in entrepreneurship is quite simple. You start it and you see what can happen. Okay, you start a cold outreach campaign and you can see that you generate results, and you can talk with these clients, see if they like the product or not, see how much they're willing to pay for that product or not. And yeah, I help a bunch of CEOs come up with new products. The second thing which they have problems and blockages, and everything's related to the mindset in the end, is pricing. So they will charge, let's say 1K per month. And all I have to do in my case, I come in and say, hey, dude, charge 2K now. And I'm like, no, 2K is way too much for my clients and blah, 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 blah. And then I say, test it. And then they test it. And next thing they know is that they charge twice as much. They make twice more money, only with one quick mindset switch. Obviously it's not as simple as that. It requires some tests. It requires lots of conversation and mindset change. But these are two other things that I drastically change in any CEO's mind, and things that can almost bring instant ROI. Hence, my services are not only in great demand, but I just feel good what I'm doing because I can bring them instant ROI, which is the goal in business.
So I take a breath listening to all that you do, but what fascinates me is learning about your physical fitness quest. You do marathons and Ironmans, and you're a solid millennial. I should believe.
93 baby. So yeah, I mean, Ironman, I have an Ironman in 6 days from now, 5 days from now in Mont Tremblant. So that will be interesting. I actually, after this podcast, I need to start reading the guide. I'm not really stressed about it like I was in my first Ironman, but yeah, it's a journey. It really is a journey. It's something spiritual. We were talking about spirituality. My ultimate goal in an Ironman, if you've done any endurance sports, you will kind of get what I'm saying, but it's to reach a meditative state while I'm on the bike, while I'm running, while I'm swimming. These activities, they're very repetitive, right? It's you controlling your breath kind of and pushing some muscles, and a lot of thoughts can get in your head in these conditions, good and bad. My personal goal this year is to not have any thoughts, except like being in the flow, not thinking about nothing, just going forward and not being distracted too much. Most of us, what will happen in these very long endurance events, will get our mind focus on something negative. Oh, my stomach is hurting. Oh, my legs are hurting. Oh, I'm out of breath. Or, oh, this guy just passed by me and he's running way faster and he's fitter and he has like more expensive shoes, for example. So my goal is just to get in the flow and try to have a 13-hour event pass in 15 minutes in my head. And that to me is bending the laws of physics, kind of, which is a topic would eventually get in, but it's that's my goal with this Ironman.
Ironman is swimming, biking, and a marathon race, right?
Yeah, it's 4-kilometer swim, so that's like 2 miles. It's 180-kilometer bike ride, which is 90 miles, and you finish with a marathon, which is 42 kilometers and 21 miles.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it's hardcore. It's
hardcore.
The toughest like one-day event in the world.
In the world. And I don't personally, I don't think that the Ironman gets enough coverage by media. ESPN. I don't. Well, I know they can't cover the whole thing because
that is very boring. Like from a CEO's perspective, you hear more and more because it's just upgrading your mindset as a CEO is like super crucial to your own performance, enduring pain and being gritty. So you'll hear about it from that perspective, but from a media perspective, it's just like baseball, it's incredibly boring to watch, very boring. What we've seen lately though is triathletes / Ironmans like Lionel Sanders from Canada that document their journey and make very cool videos. And I've had an assistant following me back in days to kind of document my journey. This is going to restart again pretty soon. We stopped since COVID and so forth, but these YouTube channels gather a lot of traction, and it's fun because you get to follow the athlete's diet, the mindset. Yesterday, I listened to a Lionel Sanders video, and it was super duper interesting because you get right in his psyche, his mindset, and the guy's basically the same as I when it comes to transparency, just shares everything. And yesterday he had a bad race last time, and you could feel that he was quite in a dark place, in his training. And I wouldn't really want to hang around him, but you get to respect that, and feel what he's feeling. It's a very cutthroat journey to be a top athlete in this field.
Oof. Also, I read that you track happiness biologically in real time.
So yeah, that would be a goal of mine. I'm not doing it as of now. I have been on the self quantified path before, but I found out that it caused more pain than goods. Basically, I'm kind of OCD, and I would always remind myself to track these things. And next thing I knew, my day was more about checking boxes than being in the flow. Being in the flow, to me, yes, you need to do some things on a daily basis, but it can just become too much for the psyche, and next thing you know, you become irritable with your close ones, and you're not 100% there in this reality. So I kind of stopped doing that. But I'd like my next startups will be like on longevity. I'm going to launch it this year. I've kind of taken a break from biohacking startups since a year ago when we closed our last supplement startup, which was called Velex. It was the best nootropic slash brain performances and enhancing supplement in Canada. And yeah, I'm going to restart that startup. It's most likely going to be, some kind of testing kits, whether it's saliva, blood, or even urine or hairs. For example, we're going to analyze that. Eventually, it will be in real time. So some kind of chip that would analyze your nutrients in real time, because these tests, for example, I think it's Inside Tracker that is the most popular startup in that field. You need them every 6 months, and they cost like $500 each, right? And I mean, that's their business, right? It's like that's how they make their money. But I think a chip, and obviously it would need to be FDA approved, which is the challenge. And in a bunch of countries, that's the less fun part, the gritty part. Yeah, that's what we would need to do. It would be a chip. It would track in real time, and it could also tell you about your cortisol levels, how high are they, your serotonin, your endorphins, and try to put some kind of number on your happiness on a daily basis. Because I started my entrepreneurial journey, and even before that, with happiness in mind. I only realized recently that a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't go for happiness, they just go for straight up money dominance, for example, or market dominance. That's their main objective in life. It's not even to be happy. For example, Elon, right? Elon doesn't value happiness. He values value for humanity, or the numbers of launch for SpaceX. That's his obsession. But me, I always valued happiness before anything. That's why, up to this day, I could be making, millions per year, but no, I'm still not there, because I value my happiness and slash sanity and lifestyle before everything else, my health and so forth. But yeah, tracking happiness to me is quite important. The why, why being happy, like what is life about? I mean, that's even a deeper question, but to me, it just feels good. It's good memories as well, and I think you need to be happy to be productive out there and have an impact ultimately, which is my top goal.
I'm intrigued by your longevity quest. I just had a discussion with my electrophysiologist, cardiologist on Friday. And the last thing I said to him, I said, I'm 77, and this thing up here between my two shoulders is functioning full throttle. And it's a combination, I said to him, of my activity, the right kind of nutrients and supplements, because I've been we discussed it last week, I've been taking certain supplements. It's not in the mainstream. And I have zero coronary artery plaque. Zero for somebody who's 77. So all of that, and my happiness level is at a high level, because I'm a happy guy. And it's funny, I used to joke around for years. I wish the hell I got depressed, so I could take like an antidepressant and just see how I feel. But I can't, because I'm a happy guy. And I don't dwell on anything. And so I'm functioning. I became a professor at Rutgers 3 years ago. When I was 74, they asked me to teach. So I'm a poster boy for, quote, longevity.
You are.
At least productivity. So anyway, if you ever want to use me as a poster boy, in your,
It's already done. It's a very respectable achievement because, like you said, when we began this conversation, not a lot of people are tracking that. To me, another factor, if we dive deep in, the young Charles, which was 18-year-old, or even 17, before I even discovered entrepreneurship, I think it was happiness and also utilitarianism, right? So the quantity of happiness times the quality of happiness, which is a very basic equation. So the longer you live and the happier you live equals a total number. To me, that's kind of the goal. Now, did I rewire my brain to like make it impactful and to have business because we live in a capitalist world? Yes. I think we need money and power also to make an impact in this world. And this goal, the money and power goal, has only been a thing since 10 years, kind of, or 7 years. One of my first mentor kind of installed that in me. He was very Richard Branson-like. He actually went to his island and stuff, Necker Island. And since that time, my goal has been more than just Charles, it has been now the whole humanity, and that also widened my horizons. And I think that, longevity, it's very rational. It's like, hey, if I can live longer, I can have a higher impact, and I can also produce more happiness while I'm there,
right.
And obviously a bunch of things, interesting things, a couple which I posted on my LinkedIn, will happen during these years, which are mind-blowing, literally.
And it's funny, we both had that same goal, and I just was doing some computation in my head, and I realized I'm a half century older than you.
Yeah, you are. It's kind of striking, right? So I'm 28, so you're like 3 times older than I am, which is super interesting. And like I said, there's not a lot of people that track their health, so that makes you quite special. I have lots of respect for that. Why, we see a bunch of billionaires out there, or very financially successful people, but are they healthy? Are they happy? To me, it's kind of not cheating, but modern achievers like Tony Robbins, for example, they do not compete only in one area, which is business. They also compete in health. They compete in relationships. They compete in happiness and lifestyle contribution. And that's who I seek to be, the complete effing package, just not just good in one area.
Mm-hmm. The last thing to ask you, it may be silly, but it's provocative to me. You have a thing about bending the laws of physics.
Yeah.
That I read.
I think I gave a good example of bending the laws of physics. We still don't understand a lot of things in our simpleton brains as humans. I think that with time, look, there's a bunch of ways this can go, but biohacking is definitely an easy path to get there, to get to information and neural connection, which others cannot get normally because they just don't give a crap about their brains. They don't understand how they work, so if you biohack and you have a learning strategy, for example, my learning, I think I'm going to spend like a good 30 seconds explaining my learning strategy because that's so important. I use an app called Pocket, and I save Wikipedia articles. And then when you're on Wikipedia articles, there's link to more Wikipedia articles. We call that wiki rabbit holes. And I go into wiki rabbit holes quite deep. Yesterday it was real estate, tech bubbles, COVID, economic impacts, and so forth. And I get really smart about like some topics in a very constrained amount of time, because what is the other options, right? Read an effing 15 hours long book? No thanks. I'll spend 30 minutes learning the 85% of a topic with the strategy that I learned. But if you hack your brain with supplements, coffees, like the basic, and sports, cold showers, for example, breathing is another biohack. If you biohack plus you have a learning strategies, you will retain more information. A bunch of humans, they just forget, right? And the more you remember, the more you can also correlate between different topics. And by being a polymath, studying many areas in life, you can derive correlation that others will never correlate. Also, obviously, I talked about cold emails today and testing out concepts. That's another very important factor. And yeah, when you do these things, you can understand new things and even create new laws, because I mean, by who was physics and science created? By humans, so you can reshape these laws, you can bend them. That's one aspect, one way to get there that I'm putting a bunch of tokens on. But another is AI, for example. We've seen startups such as DeepMind create like mind-bending programs / agents, such as AlphaFold recently, such as the chess bot, forgot AlphaGo. AlphaGo, and they've also dominated the chess games. And if you're a chess player, you'll just understand that bots are very much better than you are at winning some precise games, And I do believe that AI will redefine the laws of physics and define new laws, if there are like non-bendable laws. And yeah, bending the laws would imply lots of things. I don't believe that there are a precise set of laws that are unbendable. There are guidelines, but yeah, I think the wonder with humans is that we can create things, and that implies that we can probably also be arrogant like I am right now and say that we can bend these laws, or it implies that there's some kind of godly presence out there, which there probably is, but it's kind of the student master's equation, and the student eventually gets smarter sooner or later. So yeah, that's a short 1.5% of the total answer you're probably not looking for.
That's fine. Hey, this has been great. Truly, and I feasted on everything you said, because so much of that is what I live and breathe. So I'm just really grateful to the universe up there for, doing the orchestration. I can't thank you enough. You're a busy guy. You're prepping for a marathon and everything else you got on your table to spend some time. And I'm going to say, come back whenever you want to come back, whatever kind of content you want to put out there. I sit here 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. So but anyway, Charles, good luck on the Ironman.
Thank you.
I'll kind of follow and see how you do.
Yep.
Just thank you again so much for being here.